Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps, it is I, your host, the most Renaissance man who always thinks he can. And oh yeah, your champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back once again in the Yard Streams for another edition of Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show, where we take no nights off. And obviously, you can't be taking no nights off here in the Yard Streams without the best of the West. You can't forget about Sarah Marshall. What's popping, girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello.
Hello. What's popping? How we doing on this fine ass Friday?
It is fine, I guess.
What's the what? I hate being like the person to ask like how's the weather there, is especially like in a comment. But like in this case, I need to know how hot it is there.
110.
That's egregious. That is egregious. It was 82 and I was sweating my balls off.
Yeah, it's 110.
Jesus.
It feels like 114 with 20% humidity. So
see, humidity lose me. I don't get humidity. I understand like what it is and whatnot, but like I don't understand the percentage and stuff and like how it affects because you're in Arizona, different kind of humidity, different kind of heat.
Yes. And I don't know.
It's insane. It's wild to me. It's been an absolute heat wave here.
Also, we have guests.
We do. Hello to Pretty Deadly. Getting more screen time here. Actually, yes. Than they would on television. But they're getting some screen time as of late. So
as they deserve, okay? They deserve it.
No, they absolutely deserve it.
Yeah.
They're getting the tag team title picture squared away. I just read SRS tweeted that they're going to start focusing
They need Pretty Deadly to be in it.
You know, shit. Like, yeah, they're going to be a vocal part of it. Could you imagine Pretty Deadly feuding with DIY?
I need it.
That actually would be really good.
I need it.
I'm just saying. All right. This is why they call me the champ there.
It's the only thing I'll accept.
There's ideas like that. Well, let's pray and hope. All right. Well, what's popping to David? He's here on YouTube. Don't have more people because goddamn Twitter. And yeah, we're going to call it Twitter because you don't allow us to go live on Twitter anymore, Elon. So I don't know what Elon's problem is. All right. I don't want premium. I just want to have the site. I want to tweet my nonsense and I want to go live on it. It's an issue. We'll get it squared away. Elon's people will talk to my peeps. But in the meantime, Sarah, before Elon and I meet, we do have a little bit of business to take care of on this week's episode. We got a lot of fun stuff, breaking news, the usual shenanigans. However, we got to kick it off with my favorite segment of the week.
Don't be a lemon, be a rosebud.
Don't be a lemon, Sarah. Be a rosebud. It is time to talk about our favorite and least favorite things that happened in not only WWE, but in the entire Wrestleverse. Yes, TNA. Yes, AEW. Even the Indies. Sarah, I've been royal rambling here for quite some time. So let me ask you what your favorite thing in wrestling was this week with your rosebud.
I would say the interview between Cody Rhodes and LA Knight. Now that Cody is doing the What Do You Want to Talk About show on YouTube in partnership with, what is it?
Wheatley.
Yeah, I was going to say Wheatley, but it sounded wrong. Yeah, and then so first week he had Bailey on and that was cool, and then he had LA Knight on this week and I watched the entire nearly 40 minutes and I don't know, it was just, I think hearing people's backstories when you don't know a lot of it, like, you know, when you look at LA Knight or you try to kind of figure out or, you know, research about how he got to WWE at this point, blah blah blah. Like, you know, he was in TNA and he was in the Indies and he's been here, he's been there, he's done this, he's done that
everywhere.
But like, you don't get to hear necessarily his perspective or what he was going through or and whatever. And so to hear him be so honest about all of it was pretty cool. And Cody also giving him so much love and praising him so much for all that he's accomplished in WWE, how quickly he rose to being the megastar. Hearing Cody talk about how he thinks that he is in the upper echelon of WWE. And it's not even just that. He's just like, he's a cool guy. Like, you're so humble, blah, blah, blah. It was just cool because, as we talked about before we started recording, like, they haven't had similar careers in the sense of, you know, Cody was in WWE for like nearly a decade and then left. LA Knight was able to be in FCW NXT and was booted before he ever got a chance. But the grind to get to where they are now is very similar. So I think that was why it was a little bit more fascinating, because they could understand the struggle to get there. And obviously LA Knight's rise to this was not easy, you know.
No,
so
not in the slightest.
Yeah, so I think it was just cool, because I think it's, you know, all of that is cool and everything, but I think hearing how he got here, how he feels about getting here, what else he wants to accomplish, while also hearing, you know, the face of the company patting him on the back, praising him, hoping that they could maybe get into a match together. You know, I don't know. It just was like cool to see.
It's nice when the stars align like that. I gotta check that out. I was listening to Cody on Chris Van Fleet this week.
He's always
that
a good interview for Chris. Yeah,
great interview. Chris Van Fleet's one of the best interviewers
I also
I've ever listened to.
Yeah, I think he's a great interviewer, but especially when it comes to wrestling, because he actually knows wrestling. So I think that's why. Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem a lot of time in any interviews, really, because you could even say it for sports. Like, a lot of the time they just send a news reporter there who doesn't know about the sport really that they're talking about, that they just have to do a job. But I think it's even more difficult with wrestling, because you can't just send somebody who doesn't know. Like, they actually need to know about wrestling, about the current era, what's going on, who's doing this, blah blah blah. So I think that is the biggest positive about Chris, is that a lot of the wrestlers know him, they respect him, they want to give him a good interview, and I think that's what makes it good to watch. Like, no matter who he's interviewing, it's almost always a good thing to watch. So
we met him
briefly, yes.
That was really cool. That was like that was
2 seconds though. Like, if I wasn't such a dweeb, I would have liked to have like a conversation with him. But
was it right when we walked in?
it was like pretty early on, because I said to you, I was like, Chris Van Vliet is here. I was like, he's right over there. And so then we were trying to find him, and then he was like talking to a couple people, so we didn't want to get involved. And then we just waited, and then we were just like, hey, ha 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 ha. And then I was like, you follow me on Twitter. And he was like, oh.
No, he gave a little more excitement. He was a little more exciting than that. The reign of wrestling.
What's going on?
What you doing? Good to see you, pal. No, where am I going? Yeah, David, you got to check them out. They're so good.
I haven't watched the one of the Van Vliet one with Cody yet, but that's because it's like over an hour. That's like how good Cody's interviews usually are with Chris Van Vliet. It's like John Cena always has killer interviews with Chris Van Vliet. Like, they're must watch every single time. It's just you have to set time, to sit there and watch it. So I just haven't had a spare hour to just do that yet.
I listened to it when I was driving around at work the other day. It was the perfect time to do it.
I like to watch. That's my problem too.
Oh, okay, then that's it.
Yeah.
All right. I we'll go a different route because I'm not gonna lie, the Chris Van Fleet interview was like in all of wrestling this week. The Cody Rhodes interview was awesome. But no, I'm really excited to watch TNA Slammiversary. We're recording tomorrow. And then no one I just am not in that mood to go out and be, what's popping? Hey, I don't feel like being that type of champion. I feel like being a champion of knowledge, and that starts with watching TNA again, like we've been saying. And the best way to do so is by starting with Slammiversary. It's sold out in Canada. The press conference was absolutely incredible. We can just use this banner here. Are you going to watch Slammiversary? Because I am. I for sure am.
I might try. I'll just have to see because I have stuff going on tomorrow. So,
yeah, I'm scheduling or not scheduling. I'm be out of work, all that, and the surprises that I've heard. Or Jordan Grace was saying that there's going to be, surprises, historic night. For God's sakes, Joe freaking Hendry might win the world title.
And now that they have the WWE NXT crossover, it's like who they might have something happen. I wouldn't be surprised if WWE is involved because they have already had TNA talent involved in WWE PLEs or NXT PLEs. So I wouldn't be surprised if something happens. What it could be, I don't know, but it'll be interesting.
Wesley is joining the Rascals to take on the No Quarter Catch crew. That's too long. That's too long, Charlie. I don't like that.
It's a tongue twister, kind of.
It really is. I don't like that. The No Quarter Catch crew. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. That's just, you can't hit me with that after I'm getting all my tongue tied with No Quarter Catch crew. Now, see? Say it 3 times. And it goes right. Gee, get out of my face, Vinci. Don't you have SmackDown to go be on? They're going to be involved there. I could see WWE, sending someone else over. I could. All right, I'll throw it out there because I don't care. AJ Styles makes an appearance. I'm not gonna say like it's fighting the event. We will see AJ Styles at that show tomorrow. That's my bold. That would be interesting. Because if you're gonna make this as historic of an event as possible, it's already sold out. All right, you're riding this wave that's beyond your wildest dreams. Why not put the biggest cherry on top of it with probably the greatest homegrown talent in TNA history?
I think it would be interesting to see if they did something like that because it's supposed to be with NXT, and not the like main roster. So I feel like that would be interesting if it does become more of, no, this is a WWE TNA collab, not NXT and TNA. You know what I mean? Like that would be interesting if they would then be like, no, we're going to give you AJ Styles for this or whatever instead of somebody on NXT. That would be huge.
And it just makes sense. Like, what happened to my headphone?
I don't know.
Okay, that was bizarre. It needs to happen. Absolutely needs to happen. We have any while we're here on TNA? Well, we'll save that because I kind of want to talk about that. All right, so that was my Rosebud. Sara, I don't like talking about the bad, but we got to talk about it. What was your lemon this week?
Well, so far, I would say it can change, obviously. But there's a rumor floating around that Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser are going to face off against Sammy and Ilya at Bash in Berlin in a dark match.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up because I saw this and I forgot to add it.
People don't understand. Okay, so there's the initially hearing this, you're like, are you kidding me? Like, this is what they're gonna have Gunther do? Like, they're not gonna have him as the champion, or they're not gonna have him main event, blah blah blah. Because a lot of the time when you hear dark match, you think of, like, in this context, you think of it like before the show or after the show, like something that wasn't happening during the show.
Yeah.
And so I was pissed off immediately, because I'm like, what are we doing with Gunther? Like, what are we doing? You're saying that you might not even have him on the card at a show in Germany. Like, are you serious? So that is just kind of frustrating to me, because yes, of course, he can, I guess, be in the main event and then also do a dark match immediately afterwards, just to like keep him out there and to get Kaiser involved. Because he should hopefully be cleared by then, because I don't know if anyone knows, but he broke a rib, so that is why he's out. Which, if that's the case, then that's fine. But hearing about this, and it's possibly a spoiler for what happens at SummerSlam, because we know Gunther is facing Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight title at SummerSlam. Is this a spoiler that he loses? Is this a spoiler that he doesn't get a rematch if he loses? Is this a spoiler that he wins? And if it is a spoiler of him winning, does that mean he's not facing Damian Priest in a rematch? Like, what does this mean? This type of stuff just kind of frustrates me, when there's no need really to have a leak about a match like this, because we already have a PLE that's happening in 2 weeks. So we don't need to then be like, okay, let's forget about that. And it's a big one. Like, SummerSlam's a big one. So we don't really want to have spoilers about the results of one of the biggest, it's the biggest PLE outside of WrestleMania. That's what they want us to believe, right? So then we're already talking about something with, it's Gunther's first world heavyweight title match, and we're already talking about how he might lose or he might win, and then this is what's going to happen. Like, come on.
I think you're reading way too into this, because from what I'm seeing and thinking about, what I see here, it's from a German newspaper, and it's being advertised as a dark match for SmackDown before Berlin. Like, I know, and he's not even on SmackDown, so it could be just the way to get the ticket sales and people into the show, because he's going to be champion.
Well, that's why I'm saying it can be interpreted in multiple ways. That's why I was just saying the different ways it can be interpreted.
No, I know.
This is why I feel like you don't listen to me.
No, but I'm listening, but I don't feel as hot as you are about it.
Just because I just don't know how to feel about it is all I'm saying. Is like, the initial thing was, oh, this is going to be a dark match for Bash in Berlin. And it's like, why? That's just the thing that was going around this morning. It's just like, why would that be a dark match? Like, it's great to have Imperium together, cool, but we also want to see Gunther versus Ilya. Like, that shouldn't be a dark match, like, I get it. You would do it for Berlin, sure. But I just think, like, I just want to be sure that if this is going to be the dark match, that sure, it's on SmackDown. But also, if it's the dark match at Bash in Berlin, which they usually don't do that, it's like, okay, well, we need to make sure that Gunther has a title match or is the champion, because we can't. There's no reasonable, anything reasonable that could be done at SummerSlam, really, other than an interference or something that would explain why Gunther would not leave as champion. So,
I agree with that. When I saw that, and it's before SmackDown, all that, it didn't even trigger in my mind. But I can see, I'm with you. All right, you're protective. You're protective.
Yeah,
of your
well, because look at what they're doing to Vinci, and look at what they're doing to Pretty Deadly. I don't want the same thing to happen. Look what the
goddamn action figure company is doing to Vinci. My word, look at that thing. Look at that. It's like, that doesn't look like him. Looks like he belongs in Barbie World, but like, also Sesame Street.
It's sad. It makes me sad. I got it because it was so bad.
That should be your lemon of the week, Sarah. Jesus.
And yes, but I don't want him to think I'm not. Like, I was so excited when they announced that they were coming out with Imperium action figures like Kaiser and Vinci. And I'm not someone who gets action figures, but that was why I got Pretty Deadly, because these were their first action figures. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get them. And I wanted to get the Imperium ones until I saw what Vinci looked like, and I was like, why would they do my man dirty like this? They gave him a weirdo face and they gave him no neck. Like, what are we doing here, bro? So it just kind of sucks. Like, I get it, you know, sometimes their first figures aren't that good, but why? Like, why did you do this? It's just cruel.
David's Rosebud was the MJF Ospreay match. While the ending you would knew go to a time draw or MJF cheating, but that was incredible. Storytelling was amazing. I agree. I actually have it as a banner, and you know what? Just David, you're the loyal one in here. We're just gonna straight right into it because you kind of posed the question with how you love the match that it was fan fucking tastic. Well, does fan fucking tastic
wrong?
God, I'm so illiterate. It's insane. Can you just, what is it?
There's an A.
I did that last time, and okay. Where's the A? Before the
E-A-Y.
after the R?
I think it's E-A-Y.
That's what I thought too, and I got told last week it was wrong. Anyways, that's
it's
not the point.
O-S-P-R-E-A-Y. E-A-Y.
Mm-hmm. I'm working on it. You're gonna have to do some. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to do some editing on that. But no, seriously, that David says it was fan fucking tastic. Usually that means someone would say it was more than 10 out of 10. Meltzer says 5 out of 5 stars.
Well, he actually said 5.75 stars.
That's what he said. I don't think it was that good. I thought it was a classic Ospreay 5-star match. And I love the ending too. I know a lot of people are shitting on it and are saying it was poor refereeing. I didn't see any real poor refereeing there. I just felt like the match had to end that way. And I saw some dude who was saying, oh, Ospreay took all this and he got knocked out by a punch. Brother, you clearly were not watching the screen post-match because he hit him with the ring. It was a fan-fucking-tastic finish in my eyes. Because, of course, you're going to have the ref go out. That's how it's wrestling. But him hitting him with the ring, that's how you know MJF is back as the heel and not the fans' heel.
Mm-hmm.
He's just MJF because he did it with the diamond ring. And for him to win the championship, now he's the international champion, bringing prestige to it because there's only 8 people that won it. And I would say 7 of them are like future generational talent. Sorry, Ray Phoenix, you're great, but that's why it was great. But everyone's saying it was, oh, it's incredible and all this. Like, it wasn't over the 5 stars. At this point, it just kind of annoys me with Meltzer. It's kind of my whole point to this is I'm just sick of these 5-star ratings because they don't mean jack shit at the end of the day.
Well, and people argue that they've never meant anything.
Never have. They make jokes about it.
Yeah, I think that I haven't seen the match, so I'm not going to speak about how good or bad it was. I'm just going to speak about the Meltzer part.
Good
I think that I would say, you know, there's people that are going to think it's the greatest ever, and a lot of the time, sometimes a match can feel that way in the moment, and then when you watch it again, it's not as good as you remember it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, then you're like, oh wait, why did I ever think that was so good? It was good, but like not as good as I thought it was, because you get so invested as you're watching a match that like sometimes your judgment is clouded. I think also potentially, other than we know that Meltzer has a hard on for Ospreay, so he never gives him anything less than a 5-star match. I would say it's almost like people have wanted to see this match since Ospreay joined AEW. People have been begging, like, oh my God, I can't wait to see him versus MJF. I can't wait to see it, blah, 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 right? So now that it finally happened, or not happened on a free episode of Dynamite, and then they went to the crowd and they did all this, like there were so many elements to it. People just got really excited, including Meltzer. So automatically it's like, this is the greatest match I've ever seen. And he just gives it 5.75 stars. But it's like that immediately discredits you because you give other matches, as we talked about, Kalani Jordan versus Sol Ruka. I'm not saying
that's
it's the same caliber, but he says that he hates all the flippy stuff and all of the gymnastics and whatever,
It's
and gave them
literally
3 stars, but then he gives
everything.
Ospreay 5-star matches for every single thing, and it's like that's basically his repertoire. So what are we doing?
The Young Bucks, that's what they like. I'm not
Yeah.
discrediting how good it is. It's fantastic. I love it, but
Yeah.
you just contradicted yourself by rating the Jordan Ruka match. And it's basically their inspiration was the goddamn Ricochet Ospreay match that you gave 5 stars to.
Yeah.
Like,
so I think that
it.
it's possible, you know, everybody has their own opinion about what the greatest match is or the match of the year. And so there's going to be people who probably do think that this is the greatest match this year, or maybe they think it's the greatest match ever. I don't know. But I think it's just all subjective, you know, like I've seen people say that this was a great match, but I haven't seen it. Like it wasn't something that has trended over the last 2 days, you know, the way that like WrestleMania 40 main event did. It was like days after Cody won and The Rock was there and The Undertaker was there and whatever. It was like days after. And I'm not saying that was the greatest wrestling match ever, but I think if you're going to give something such high praise or high stars, like it needs to be like stand the test of time. And it's like 2 days later and nobody's talking about it. No one was really talking about it 24 hours later. So was it really worth almost 6 stars? I don't know. I haven't seen it, but like you would think that something that good would still be being talked about if it was as legendary as some people are saying, if that makes sense.
I think you should watch it.
I'm not saying I don't want to watch it. I'm not saying I won't. I'm just saying like I was doing other stuff on Wednesday. Like I have to work, you know? So anyway.
Yeah, it was a really good match. And yeah, it was long, but sometimes things that are long are absolutely incredible. Have you ever seen The Irishman? Oppenheimer, like life, it's great. It's long. You deal with it. Aaron Teagle, great comment out of you. Yeah, I know it sucks that Elon is holding us down. But you love us and we love you. We love the show.
Appreciate
anyway,
that.
keep doing your thing, Sara. I don't know you, Aaron, but nice to hear the great comments. Thank you. There we go.
I know. I wish that we could still go on Twitter, but we'll think about it. Like I said, I hate the idea of paying Elon $7 to do that.
That's the thing. I want to revolt. I want to go fucking Sons of Liberty on their ass.
Because then it really is paying $7 a month just to make sure that we can go live. And I mean, I guess like when you think about $7 a month over, you know, we go live 12 times at least in a month, then I mean, that seems cheap, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we had a fairly good audience on Monday or on Tuesday. I'm sorry, for the Raw Rewind, and actually, it's gotten a crazy amount of views for us. So, and I say crazy because usually our live streams don't do like more than 200 views or whatever because it's like an hour and a half long. This one's already like 450. Wow. So, yeah, we've made 29 cents from it.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah,
make it hail.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see about that. Where are we going now? Oh yeah, we're done with our feelings. Feelings. Are you deleting?
Yeah, I'm deleting things that we already did.
No, don't delete the rosebuds and lemons.
Oh, sorry, I already did. So.
Okay, well we'll keep it for next time. Okay. Because we have to travel around the Wrestleverse, Sara, and discuss all the trending topics, especially with this one, which just happened actually as we were going live. Our good pal Bernard tagged us in the tweet that Ikulo signs with WWE per Fightful, and I'm not going to try and sit here and critique a man that haven't really watched him wrestle. I just know what he's a part of. So instead of trying to critique, why don't I inform the peeps? I feel like that's a lost art in being a champion, is in informing, you know, the peeps. So I'm going to do that, Sara, and inform you too, because I feel like you're in the same boat with me. We're on Noah's Ark.
Okay, so he's Tama Tonga's legit brother.
There it is.
And he's Tongaloa. Okay, Tongaloa.
He was
cousin.
trained by Bully Ray. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. He was in the Bullet Club.
Okay, so Tonga Loa is an adopted brother.
Oh.
He's not a legit brother?
He's out. He's not actually part of the bloodline.
I don't know, because they're saying he's in a like Tama Tonga is his adoptive brother.
Well, he's part of Gorillas of Destiny, which deadass has the best tag team intro song I've ever heard. So,
okay, he's adopted.
So he's not that.
No, Haiku. I don't want to mess up his name.
I don't want to say
he's adopted.
Wow. The more you know. It's very interesting. I wouldn't think that.
Okay, well, anyway, we should probably just talk about it. So this has been kind of something that people have been talking about for a couple weeks right now, anyway, or even a month or so. There were rumors that he was going to be joining WWE to inevitably join the bloodline, and it looks like that's probably happening. But what makes it interesting is people are talking about that they think this means Jacob Fatu is going to side with Roman now, because then it's like Solo and the Tongans, and so Jacob would join the original bloodline. That would make sense simply because then it could be 4-on-4, and then we don't have to deal with, okay, how are they, people want Sammy to join the bloodline to do that. Well, they didn't want to have to worry about that because Sammy's on Raw, so they'd have to figure out a way to get him to SmackDown for it to make sense, or him to drop the IC title, whatever. Or, my feeling was maybe they would get Cody involved. Well, they don't have to worry about that either. So that would be good. I just would be interested to see how they make that happen, because I think people aren't considering, like, it's not just easy for Jacob Fatu to be introduced as a new member of the Bloodline 2.0, and then all of a sudden Roman comes back, reunites with the Usos, and then he's like, all right, actually I'm going over there. Like, how do we
that's what I'm
get
saying.
from point A to point B?
It makes no sense for Jacob Fatu to just align himself with Roman, and it would have to be some pretty long-term storytelling to even make that happen. Why are we so focused on evening the numbers? The Bloodline Civil War, it's Survivor Series, doesn't have to be strictly Bloodline. You can add people. That's what makes it fun. And for all intents and purposes, it's a Bloodline Civil War. It's one thing. It's not going to be they don't have to be a continuous member in the Bloodline story. So why do we have to just
easier
have
though? Family fighting family.
But that's exactly. But that's not like that. Just I feel like that's just you're putting yourself in a box thinking like that.
Well, but we also don't know who else they might add. So
exactly, that's
Roman could bring in more family. Yeah.
Like,
so, but and then we also have to remember, like, The Rock is going to get involved, we assume, at some point. So he's going to be considered a member. So he's not going to be here for Summer or Survivor Series or anything. So that's not a thing. But when it comes to, Rumble next year, whenever he is able to be around, he is going to be around the Bloodline 2.0, which I also think that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see, because Solo is the tribal chief and he's trying to assert himself as the leader, but then when The Rock comes around, he's going to want to do the same thing. So, like, is that going to be like a bumping of the heads, or does Solo understand his place? Because he's the tribal chief, but Rock is the final boss. Like, so I think that could be interesting. But yeah, it will be, I don't know. It's going to be quite fascinating to see who else of the family might join, because the Bloodline 2.0, if they get another member, then they are getting more. They have numbers over the original Bloodline. So
we still have.
But Zilla. I guess Jacob Fatu would make sense to go to the original Bloodline because he's not Tongan. So that's the thing. It would just be like if Solo wanted a team of Tongans, then like, okay,
And
Fatu
also
could be
Jacob
like,
Fatu.
I'm going to go join the other Fatus, like he'll go to the Fatus, like, and not the Tongans.
I'm going to hang with the Fatus.
Yeah.
I think that it may also make sense for Jacob to turn like at some point, but long-term storytelling. Because that for him to turn, because then he could say that he was the true tribal chief, like he had all those reports of, that we were worried about Jacob Fatu outshining Solo Sikoa, like just make it into a story.
I just think I don't want to see more people fighting over the tribal chief title. Like it's just going to become like exhausting. Like I don't care.
Why?
We don't need like 14 Samoans fighting over who the tribal chief is. Like that's going to be so boring.
Roman Reigns
annoying.
is the tribal chief.
Not necessarily. It's Solo Sikoa right now. So
yeah, I play pretend too by wearing this belt. All right,
there was a lot of people. Remember, there was a lot of people, and there are people who still say that if you are going to be named the tribal chief, it comes with being champion. So technically, that would mean Roman is also not the tribal chief, because there were people who were like, "That's what made him the tribal chief, is that he won the titles and he unified them." So then what now?
Will the real tribal chief please
stand up? Yeah.
Will the real tribal chief please stand up?
Yeah. So we'll see. But I also think that moving Jacob to the original bloodline is kind of setting up the bloodline 2.0 for failure. I think that Solo needs a guy like Jacob Fatu in his corner, instead of having Solo and a bunch of newbies in WWE go against Roman, the Usos, and Jacob Fatu. Like, I don't think The Rock is enough to like get people to think Solo is credible or the Bloodline 2.0 is credible. If they don't have a guy like Jacob around, I feel like I don't know. All
right, now let's talk about a signing that I can actually talk about here. Allegedly, it has not been fully official. Adam Pearce hasn't told us that yet. But it's really rumored around that the Motor City Machine Guns are leaning more towards WWE. Sarah, let me tell you, if this is true, I'm going to be the happiest little champion you've ever seen. Because the Motor City Machine Guns were one of the first tag teams outside of WWE that I was all in on. Like, bought in. I love them. Didn't care about how it made sense for them to be champions, but just loved every time they were on my television. And the fact they're still doing it, got even more prestige, became a legendary tag team in my hiatus. And now they could be coming to the company that I would say is cream of the crop, your Alabama Crimson Tide of wrestling. You got to go. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this.
Do you think they're going to NXT or main roster?
SmackDown main roster. Not it, but if they went to NXT, why would you hate that?
Because that's going to push Pretty Deadly to the back of the line further. I feel like they need to be
no.
I think they need to be on Raw.
No.
There's not many tag teams on Raw.
Yes, but hear me out. They are going to fight DIY at some point if they go to SmackDown. They would go and fight them. Whoever wins that would be the champion, whatnot. Well, the champion they're both going to be baby faces. Like, you can't hate the Motor City Machine Guns. They're not going to come and hate it, all that. They need a heel tag team to be competing with. So, boom, Pretty Deadly.
Yeah, I think you're being too optimistic here. But
I'm being creative. That's what champions do.
Anyway, this is just one of those signings too that it's hard for me to break out of the mindset of when this would never happen. 10, 15 years ago, this would be the ultimate betrayal by the Motor City Machine Guns. And the fact that we're in 2024 and this is just like a casual news drop, it's like it's like a sign of how much stuff has changed, because
it's insane.
that's why in a way, like, when AJ Styles joined WWE, other than the fact that it was huge news because hello, this guy is like a worldwide phenomenon. It was also like this was the face of TNA for how long? And this guy probably swore off WWE. And now he's here, you know? It's like that was crazy. I think guys like the Motor City Machine Guns, like that's pretty crazy too, because they were a huge part of especially the I would say like that 2000s to 2010 era of TNA.
Oh, it was they held it down in the X division. Chris Sabin alone. I mean, that's the thing too, is that they're an unbelievable tag team. Like on many people's Mount Rushmores. But separate them, they're also incredible talents in their own right. I mean, they're both been I know Alex Shelley's been, I don't know off the top of my head if Chris Sabin has been TNA world champion, but multiple time X division champions. You know, they can go in the ring.
Well, and they might be at a point where they want to just do tag teams. They're both in their 40s.
Oh, it's easier. Yeah.
If they're going to be going to WWE, go get that money, honey, and do whatever you got to do. Like if you don't care about winning world titles and stuff, go out there and have fun with your friend. Win tag team titles, travel the world, get paid a ton of money. You know, like that seems like the most ideal way to go about this. Because like I hate thinking about anyone being close to retirement and their 40s, but we know with how much they have to put their bodies through, it's like, your years are numbered, unfortunately. So if this is where they might end their career, then I wouldn't be surprised if they're down with like, let's just do tag team stuff. Like that's cool. Like that's so much easier on their bodies and will give them the most fun, you know, because then they get to travel together and stuff. So
the dream matches that they would have. Oh,
crazy.
I don't care where they go, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, as long as
even Raw, I wouldn't be mad. I can't do. They would be so. They would be better utilized in WWE.
I am curious to see if this gets done, if the deal actually gets done, and if they do go to the main roster, because it's like, oh, okay, Triple H, you know, people really like to criticize him, and I think there's plenty of stuff that I could criticize him for, obviously Pretty Deadly being one of them, but I mean, they keep doing some really great signings, so you know, like people wanted to hate on them because they missed out on Ospreay. Like I'm not saying anything disrespectful to Ospreay, but like you can't act like WWE isn't flooded with talent right now, or that they didn't win with some of the others that they've signed, you know, like especially in the women's division. Like you can't say, them getting Motor City Machine Guns, that's such a mistake. They should have gotten Ospreay. Like, come on. Like, so many guys on the top right now, or guys trying to be on the top, that Ospreay going in would just make it a lot trickier, you know?
Oh, so absolutely.
Would we be sitting here hating Ospreay in WWE? Absolutely not. But do I think that they are suffering because he's in AEW and not in WWE? No, they're doing just fine.
Doing just fine, guys. It's all right. This was an interesting topic that I wasn't going to bring up, but you wanted to bring up, and I'm happy that it's happening.
Yeah. So there's a report going out that WWE is being more lenient with their trademarks on wrestlers' names. So obviously they own them or trademark them, whatever you want to say, when they are employed by WWE. But unlike the past, it is being said that they are now lifting that for these wrestlers that leave and allowing them to use those names wherever else they go. People were talking about it being like Mustafa Ali, for instance. He's still using that name in TNA. So like that's a sign of that. So if this is true, I find it really interesting, and I would say it's about time, you know, because some wrestlers, of course, you know, you look at like Dolph Ziggler, he's going by his real name in TNA. I don't blame him. Dolph Ziggler is such a very like wrestler's name.
That's a WWE name.
Yeah, that's such a character name.
Yes,
I don't blame him, but you know, when we look at the situation with Cody Rhodes, like he had to just go buy Cody in AEW because they would not give up Cody Rhodes because they had trademarked it. He literally had to like go to court to try and win back his wrestling name. So, if this is true, I find it fascinating because it didn't take Triple H very long to change that rule. That was something that was such a staple under Vince McMahon's ruling. And shout out to the people who now don't have to worry about their legit birth name being owned by WWE. You know, like it has to be weird to be a John Cena, Randy Orton, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't even own the rights to my own name.
We actually own you.
Yeah, like that's pretty insane. So I think it's just cool. I guess it's like one way for departing talent that's like, okay, like you can still use this name if it's the name you came in with or it's a name that you like, because sometimes they do come in with those names and they just go with it, and then that just kind of sucks. Like, can you imagine Tama Tonga coming in, that's his name forever in the indies and in New Japan, and then they're like, yep, you're leaving now, but you can't take Tama Tonga with you, you know?
Yeah, like that's the thing is, and you are gonna be confused as a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
you know, this is a really good step in the right direction for Triple H in this new era to pretty much acknowledge the outside world of wrestling. And you, by doing that, you're gaining a whole other audience because they're obsessed with this one wrestler. And if you change the name, you basically change the wrestler too.
Well, and just because they're going by the same name, that doesn't mean anything bad for WWE. If anything, it's better for you, because if someone Googles Mustafa Ali, stuff from WWE is going to pop up. It's not just going to be TNA stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, wouldn't you prefer that you were popping up, and if someone was trying to be like, oh, okay, let me see, I want to see some stuff of Mustafa Ali's like in 2022, you know what I mean, not realizing maybe he hadn't been in TNA at that time. Okay, well then they're going to go through your archives because they're going to see he was in WWE and he was doing this and he was doing that. So like, isn't that more of what you would want? It's more eyes on your product, more money. Like, that seems better in my opinion.
It's way better. It really is way better. I'm taking this banner off because I'm taking that banner off, and we're gonna talk about this one because we've been talking a lot about good old Davey Boy today. And you know, usually, Sarah, I'm not the one that gets hot. I have my opinions and I say them, and you rant, you know, you do your thing, but I'm kind of joining you on that side today. Because a lot of shit that he's been doing is really pissing me off. I forgot about the Sol Ruka Kalani Jordan thing until you mentioned it. And then this really pissed me off, what he said about the Mariah May segment. I
don't even know what he said.
I have it. I freaking send it to you.
I don't remember.
I know I did. Yes, I did. It was Wrestle Talk tweeted it. And the quote was, after all the build and that great angle last week, I have to say that this was a step backwards. A few people would boo, a few people would chant, we want Tony, but it's like 5 people out of 3,000. She had nothing to say. I thought there would be this great explanation. She hit the basic stuff, but it was only the basic stuff. I don't think it was strong enough. The crowd didn't do her any favors, but I don't think the promo did her any favors either. Dave, there's like 5 people in the audience to begin with. All right, they're a TV wrestling like, no, they know their place. All right, and they're doing fine. What I was pissed off about is how he's saying the basic stuff. Because you're getting the basic stuff right now, doesn't that kind of entail that this is not going to just end at All In at Wembley?
Well, and don't you need to lay the groundwork before you have to lay the foundation before you start building the house? You can't just like forget about that part, because otherwise he'd be complaining that they are too far ahead and they didn't fill in this and this.
This and you didn't do that. Like, yeah, no shit. You have to lay the groundwork, as we just said. Like, it pissed me off too because I really enjoyed this segment. I really thought Mariah May did a great job in interacting with the crowd. You know, the way, like, it's such a little thing, but in wrestling, when the heel just goes, no, and lets the crowd just be like, that's feeding in. That's brilliant. Like she
Hi,
waited.
Dom.
Yeah, like
Dominic
she
does that.
waited and waited to get the crowd really pissed off at it to start explaining. Like it's little things like that you know, person like me in the pits cave can figure out like that, and Melt's just like, oh, I don't care about it. No, it's brilliant. They haven't seen All About Eve, and they probably don't have an appreciation for the old cinema like myself. So
I think also he just is kind of wanting to draw attention to himself recently, because it feels like he's just saying the complete opposite of what most people are saying
it's pretty
about.
bad.
I mean, we're giving him what he wants, unfortunately, because he wants probably people to talk about what he's saying and how wrong he is and blah, 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 blah. But you know, I'm not an avid AEW watcher, but I haven't seen anyone say anything negative about any of the stuff recently that's been going on with Tony and Mariah. So I think he just wants to be different and set himself apart and just be like, or you know how he is. He tries to gear up for what he thinks the inevitable future is. So he's like, all right, I'm going to say that this sucked so that I can get ahead of everybody else who's eventually going to say it sucks, because then I can say I was right and I was the first one to say it. It's like, but then when it never happens, he doesn't care. You know, it's like, whatever. Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's just what he does. So if this was something that is happening in 3 weeks, then sure, be pissed about it. But like the fact that it's like the first time that she was out to explain her actions, I don't really understand how are you this mad? Like, what are we talking about?
AEW 250 was a really good show. Like even the Chris Jericho segment wasn't terrible. I mean, it served a role.
Ugh.
You don't like the role, but it wasn't as bad as usual. And everything played it actually made you want to watch next week.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times on AEW, you're only watching matches, and the thing you're looking forward to next week are more matches.
Yeah.
I really believe that AEW is hitting a stride right now, and it's really good for wrestling. It's really good for the product. So I just want to see it continue to flourish. And I have nothing bad to say about TK this week. I have nothing bad to say. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing, Sarah. But enough of AEW talk. We got to go back to WWE as SmackDown graces my screen right now. I just wanted to bring this up to you, see if you saw this. But apparently a rumor
I don't think it's
is
real.
it's no shot it's real.
Yeah, no, that's a fake wrestling news site also, but go ahead.
Yeah, and it was a new entrance of Seth Rollins' theme, and it was just mixed with a little bit of Screamo. I didn't like it. I thought it was rubbish. And a lot of people saying it's fire and all that. No, not it. It's perfect right now. Why are we gonna fix something that isn't broken?
I mean, I don't love his theme song. It is what it is. Like I don't love it.
It's brilliant.
I know, but like I don't in general, I don't love it.
And personally, you're not going to listen to it. Okay.
I like previous ones of his better that had words and whatever. But I get it. It fits the vibe right now. It fits what he's trying to do and the crowd interaction. But yeah, this fake one that's going around trying to parade itself as like what they're going to be doing next. I think it's one, a fake weirdo that's just trying to get attention online, and two, someone just trying to take advantage of the dislike that fans have for Def Rebel, so it's easy for them to be like, okay, I'm going to put this out there and make it seem like this is a Def Rebel mix, and now everyone's going to talk about it because they're going to hate it, and so it's just an easy pile on. Otherwise, there's no reason for this to happen, and people are some of this is derived from people being so mad about Sheamus's music changing on Raw. I don't get why people are so upset about it, because I really liked the first 10 seconds or whatever of that intense music that the Brawling Brutes had, even when they were with Sheamus. And then they had the bright light moment, and then it would go into their music. I liked that, but those first 10 seconds did not go well with the Too Many Lies song. It just didn't work because it was such different types of music. It just felt weird. Like it didn't seamlessly transition from that beginning into his old
Yeah.
song. So
Yeah.
it was like he either needed to go back to the Brawling Brutes era music that he had or get a new song. And people were trying to blame it on like WWE executives or Def Rebel changing it. And I'm like, no, I'm sure they realized it wasn't sounding good. And so
it didn't mesh.
they changed it. That doesn't mean that this is what is going to happen to Seth Rollins. It's like that there's no reason for it to happen. So I think, yeah, it's just a bunch of made up stuff. So
should Seth be the special guest referee for McIntyre Punk 1? Because that report is going around that a major match at SummerSlam will have a special guest referee.
I think if we're looking at it, then that's the only one that makes sense.
Only one that makes sense.
But
do you agree?
I don't know. I'm conflicted only because then this means that Seth Rollins doesn't have a match at SummerSlam, which is kind of odd. But it also makes sense, like, if they're not going to have him do anything else, then okay, yeah, at least he's involved in SummerSlam in this way. So I guess, like, if that's what you're gonna do, then I guess at least he'll be on screen. I think that I don't know. I don't know that I love it because I've already said how I want this match to go. And I really just wanted it to be an absolute slaughter by Drew McIntyre. And if Seth Rollins is involved, that means it's not going to happen because they're going to want Seth to have a role and do something, you know, like they're not just going to send him out there for Drew to finish the match in 5 minutes, you know, like Seth would be, there would be no reason for him to be there. But I also feel like there's really not a whole real point for him to be involved in this other than his connection to Punk. Like there's otherwise, like, what are we doing? Like he doesn't have too much beef with Drew, really. It's not relevant anymore. He was just having a match, you know, with Damian Priest, and McIntyre did what any of them would have done, which would have been to cash in. And we can't say Seth was pissed at that. He did it at WrestleMania in a main event. Like, you can't be mad that a guy won a briefcase an hour before and did it in your match that wasn't even the main event. You know, that's not a reason to have beef with him. So he would be involved in it because of not liking Punk. So then it's like, okay, is he going to work on behalf of Drew to make sure that Punk loses? But there's no title involved. So whoever wins this match is just to be like, oh, yeah, I won. It's not like they're going to walk out champion or something.
It's all about getting in each other's business. That's what I'm saying with this theme.
I don't know.
And now, like, Seth's getting in Punk's business as special guest referee. Once again, someone is getting in Drew McIntyre's business on his quest to become world heavyweight champion. It's just all about people getting into business that they don't need to. And I like the added little element of Seth in there. Why not? If to me, that just means we're going to get more. It's confirmed. We're going to get more McIntyre versus Punk in the future, potentially at Bad Blood. So
yeah, I feel it definitely at Bad Blood because that's the next show after.
That'll probably be
other than Bash in Berlin.
Yeah, so then you do them at Bash in Berlin, and then you do Bad Blood at Hell in a Cell.
But then it's like kind of interesting because Punk is still not cleared, and it's 2 weeks away. So it's like there's a little scary about timing because even if he gets cleared, like, is he wrestle ready? Is he like ring ready? Because what if he gets cleared next week and he has a week to prepare to be in a match against Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam? Like, that's, I don't know. It seems a little intense, but I feel like that's the only thing that really makes any sense because Drew has to have a match at SummerSlam. It pretty much has to be Punk, but if it can't be Punk, then what are we doing? Like, are we going to try and put that into like a punishment angle that McIntyre can't work SummerSlam because he won't stop putting his hands on referees or something?
No ref wants to be the ref. But
it's really because Punk's not cleared.
What? It's so that it's gonna end up? No. What?
No, I'm saying if Punk cannot be cleared, I'm talking about real life situation. If Punk is not cleared by SummerSlam or he's not cleared like right now, then they can try and make it into an angle that, oh yeah, Drew doesn't get a match at SummerSlam. Not because Punk's not cleared. We're not going to talk about that. It's because Drew won't stop misbehaving. That's what I'm saying. Like, that would be the angle they would take to take the heat off of it being Punk's fault because he's not cleared, even though it's not his fault. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to blame him because he got injured and isn't cleared yet. But it feels like that might be the way to go, which would be unfortunate because Drew's been talking about wanting to face off with Punk at SummerSlam for months. So that would really suck.
We teased it. We said his name, and we hope this fantasy match appears. Because Joe Hendry said at the Slammiversary press conference,
say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Sorry, you said his name.
So. I said his name. I said his name as soon as it popped up. No, not your name, Siri. Okay, different. Anyways, I said his name, and yeah, I really hope this happens. He said that if he wins the TNA World Championship at Slammiversary, then he will challenge John Cena on his retirement tour. And God fucking damn it, if there's one thing that I want in this wrestling world, not even fuck that, the real world, life, my own life, please give us Joe Hendry versus John Cena. Just make it happen, please. This would be so awesome. It would be historic on so many levels. Come on.
Imagine John
That's a way to go out.
Having like multiple matches against former fans. Because Joe Hendry was a big John Cena fan.
That's how you do a retirement tour.
Yeah. So that's why I think it would be cool too, because Joe Hendry talked about it in an interview that he spoke on the phone to John Cena when he was doing a meet and greet for like 10 minutes on the phone, and John was just talking wrestling with him and whatever. And so he basically made a forever fan out of Joe. So then to be able to see him in a match against him, that would be pretty cool. And I think, I mean, I really would not be surprised if part of John Cena's farewell tour does involve him going down to NXT. Like, not necessarily having a bunch of matches, but maybe making a couple appearances, maybe having a match with Joe Hendry there, you know. As we said earlier, it really depends on how deep this TNA partnership goes, if it really is just with NXT or if they are going to involve the main roster. So I think what?
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
No, I'm talking about
John.
What?
John Cena to TNA.
No, I'm saying if he went down to NXT, like I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to do some stuff down in NXT because there's talent there that he wants to work with or whatever, just to cover all his bases, you know, before leaving. Because I also wouldn't be surprised if he's a free agent, so he can go to Raw and SmackDown. They're going to be like, you don't need to be tied to one show. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want, face whoever you want. Yeah, so then he'll go down to NXT as well, and that can be how the Joe Hendry thing happens. So
what if he goes, but I'm saying take it a step further. Why wouldn't John Cena go to TNA?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It depends on how deep they're going, and we have to see how deep they go, because John Cena is not going to be the first one to cross over from the main roster to there. Like, that wouldn't, I mean, that would be huge, but it's not going to be received like, you know, when we were talking about it being AJ Styles, because that would be bigger.
Second. AJ Styles and John Cena.
Yeah.
Those two need to, and then just flood it with anyone. Okay.
Yeah, so I think we'll just have to see, but I do think that would be pretty cool, and I'm sure Cena would be fine with it because he will work with any guy that he believes in or he thinks has it or is the next guy. We saw he did it with Cody. We saw he did it with Austin Theory. He did it with LA Knight. He did it with Solo Sikoa. Like, he's gonna be that guy that will put people over. And so if Joe Hendry is able to get the message back to him that he wants a match on his retirement tour, okay, well, there's 365 days in a year. I'm sure Cena could put away at least one of them to have a match with Joe Hendry, even if it is on an NXT PLE.
I agree. I can't wait for it to happen. All right. It is time for the 1, 2, 3 count. SmackDown is just cooking, Sarah. I am not going to spoil it for you because I don't know when to and not to spoil things.
All right.
But I'm going to spoil this ending for you. All right. Limitless Wrestling, title for title. The victorious one, Brett Ryan Gosling, taking on, I forgot to introduce him as the Let's Wrestle champion. And he'll be taking on Channing Thomas, Limitless Wrestling champion. And that's our guy. All right, let me get the victory in there. That's our guy from day one. My dude. We're rooting for BRG in this one. And it just so happens that the event is tomorrow. In Maine, I'm pretty sure it's in Maine, Limitless Wrestling. Go check it out on IWTV. I'll be watching. I might even do double screens. We might do Slammiversary on the laptop, and then that on the we if we could do double screen wrestling tomorrow, oh, be great. 2, my handy dandy notepad. All right, Sarah. There's a lot of things that I think about throughout the day that I want to talk about in the show, and then obviously my mind, I forget them, obviously. So I have them written down here, and really, there's only 2 things that I want to talk about that I saw on Twitter today that we didn't talk about already. All right, and it is 1, the Rascals are awesome. They're incredible in the ring, and not only that, I watched the segment they had on TNA last night where they actually challenged the no quarter catch crew and to a match at Slammiversary. And the way they introduced Wesley back, because obviously going back to the trademarks thing, he was Dez. He was Dez his entire time, and now he's Wesley. So they were saying how, why we call him that? Really good. I thought that was great. And I want to see more teams like that cross promote. You know what I mean? Like it's so fun to dream book and whatnot about those types of matchups. Well, we're in a world when we can make it possible, so why not just do it? You know. So, and then the other thing was we were talking about Joe. God, get out of my face! I'm talking about Joe Hendry, because Joe Hendry appeared in his name is Elijah now, not Elias, but he was on an indie circuit, and Elijah said his name, and a video played of him doing Hendry took your job to Gotta Give It Up. And it's incredible. I think I sent it to you. If I didn't, go check it out. It's easily one of the funniest videos I watched that he's done so far. And then 3, to wrap it up, the Bad Gal presented to you by the Nonsense Sports Network. It was episode 9 of the live streams. We got episode 1, in case you're like, what the fuck are you even talking about, Pitts? Episode 1 of the Bad Gal, where I take Sara into another galaxy and we make her an absolute dog of a WWE superstar. Go check out the first episode because you're going to be hooked immediately. And this week we were feeling down, and to give you an update for anyone who didn't watch what we're doing. You went we had one more. No, we did the Candice LeRae. Now we were feuding with fucking Troy Tompkin. I hate this dude. I cannot describe my hatred for this man, and he's totally fictional. So he says that we're not getting over with the fans. I'm like, all right, well, we kind of had some banger feuds and storylines. Why not? So he's like, well, it's you. It's not the booking, it's you. So he decides to put a captain's uniform on us because our surname is Cap in the game. Mm-hmm. And we wrestled in a sailor captain's outfit for a couple matches, and it was absolutely brutal. All right, and it was ridiculous. On the faux social media that they have, we're getting roasted, Sarah, getting absolutely roasted for wearing it, to the point where we had enough. And I don't know what our fetish is for taking Byron Saxon's mic and talking into it instead of the live mic in front of the crowd. I don't know. That might be a little pet peeve I have with the game. But we take Saxon's mic on commentary, and we cut this elaborate promo, not plan, by the way, about how we are done being held on a leash and we're ready to show who the real Cap is and done with the politics, all that. It was incredible. I was even like, yeah, let's go, Sarah. So you get backstage at Gorilla and are greeted by Troy. He's pissed, livid, like, what are you doing? It wasn't planned. And then in the funniest way possible, Sir William Regal pops up from the monitors at Gorilla and comes over and applauds us for this elaborate promo and the feelings that we had letting it out, and said, you know what? You don't want to be on a leash anymore? Fine. You got 3 things that you got to do. And I forget the 3 things right now because it was yesterday and we talked a lot of wrestling already and SmackDown's in front of me. But those 3 things essentially were pretty much know yourself, know your worth, and never ever wear that captain's outfit again. And he said that he didn't authorize it, and Troy said he did. So on that note, fuck Troy. Fuck Troy Thompson. I hate him. He just holds us down. So yeah, that's all I got because I ranted about Troy. I got all my anger out, and I am hungry. So I gotta get some food. But before I go to catering, I gotta thank you guys for tuning in to this edition of No Nights Off. Please hit that subscribe button and bell notification. Really goes a long way. And not only a bell notification know when we go live, but when new clips come out, when a new episode of The Bad Gal comes out, because we have more of those not only on the docket, but more of them to play because I go live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And we take a trip to the Nonsense Galaxy and play and manage, not just play, we manage Sara in a corner and just take a ride on the NWF. It's fun, a lot of fun. Go check it out. And to know when I go live for those as well, and just to follow us, talk wrestling with us, follow both of us on social media down below, all the links. All right, so go do that and go enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. See you potentially tomorrow. Let's go. Let's go. I hope Joe Hendry is Cody's partner. It's